Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's session from Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are going to cover verses 19 to 29 from the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita as it is, Dhyana Yoga. Paramanand Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat. Verse 20. Yatro parmate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pasyanatmani tushyati sukhamatyantikam yattad buddhigrahya matindriyam vetri yatra na chaivayam stitaschalati tatvatah yam labdva cha param labham manyate nadikam tatah yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalayet tam vidyad dukha sanyoga viyogam yoga sangetam. Translation: in the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through the transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from the material contact. Verse 24, because we read 20 to 23 verses together. This is how they've been given in the book. Verse 24, Sa nishchayen yoktavayo yogo nirvinna chetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamam styaktva sarvana sheshatah manasayavendriya gramam vinayam maya samantatah. Translation: one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born out of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Verse 25. Shanay shanay rupar meda buddhya dhriti griheteya atma samstham manah kritva na kishchidapi chintayet. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. Verse 26. Yato yato nischalati manascha chanchalam sthiram tatastato niyam yait tadat manye vasham nayet. From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Verse 27. Prashanta manasam yenam yoginam sukhamuttamam upeti shantarajasam brahmabhutam kalmasham. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reaction to past deeds. Verse 28. Yujjan evam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashah sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukham ashnute. Thus the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from the material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord. Verse 29. Sarva bhutastham atmanam sarva bhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. So the theme of mind control is kind of carried on in different verses now by Krishna, because rightly this chapter has been mentioned as Dhyana Yoga, and Dhyana, as we know, is done by the mind. So mind is such a faculty that it is the first one which gets happy if there's some happiness, and it's the first one which feels if the emotion is the opposite. So Krishna is telling Arjuna in all these verses constantly the same thing, how to control the mind. Krishna has told us yesterday that up to verse 18, that one way is to control mind is through the Ashtanga Yoga, which includes Dhyana Yoga as well, which is practice of meditation. As we all know, Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pratyahar, Samadhi, and so on. So there are 8 stages of the yoga as given by Patanjali. But if one is not including the spiritual aspect, that why this yoga was actually given to us in the first place by the yogis, it was given to us to not only to look after the body platform of our life, but also to take care of our spiritual side of life as well. Because if a body is healthy, then it's easier to do the spiritual activities and to be able to in some kind of control in your life. So Krishna explained a lot of things to us in the verses so far, that you can control your eating, you can control your habits daily, how you go about your life. You can be living in seclusion, you can living like a yogi. That can also be a kind of trying to get control over your mind, body and ego. And then there is a practice of celibacy which the brahmacharis do. They are very regulated, what time they wake up, what time they do this activity, and how the life is so regulated. So that used to be in the past, when kids used to be sent to Gurukul and people used to go to they were all actually practicing brahmacharya properly. Then it was the grihastha ashram for the people, not in today's day and age when internet is freely flowing for everyone, from little child to older person in the house. And so it's a very big responsibility for the parents as well to look after the well-being of their kids, that what they're watching, how much screen time they're having, and what kind of games they're playing in the name of video games and everything. I remember when our kids were small, I used to think that this is something completely alien, because when we were growing up, there was no video games and all that. But then if we compare to what they had and now what it is, it seems that it is like a influx of so much information for little kids. So it's a very important thing for all the parents to look after the well-being of the kids, and because they are the first gurus. In the schools, the kids are only spending so many hours, say for example 6 hours at the most, or 7. The rest of the time they're home, so they have to be very responsible for them. And so Krishna was telling us, by doing all this Ashtanga Yoga, this 8-fold Ashtanga Yoga, okay, you can look after your body, you can look after your consciousness. And if you are going to utilize this in the path of bhakti as well, then it's going to be, like they say, a double whammy for you. Because end of the day, all we are doing, trying to do by doing these pranayams and everything, is so that we can focus inside and look within. Look within where? Look within the Paramatma in our heart, and listen to the instructions. Because the Paramatma in our heart is always guiding us. It's up to us. The onus is upon us, how much we want to hear. And so the crux of all these shlokas is that we have to be practical in our discipline. And if we just take on just the Ashtanga Yoga as it is very seriously, then we find it is not very easy to meditate. Just to sit down and do the meditation, close your eyes. You can't. You just if you're focusing on your breath. So after some time, you need to shift away. Because end of the day, we are in Kali Yuga. We have to have something for our minds to focus on. So in the Kali Yuga, we have been given this Mahamantra. So that's why we do the chanting every day on it. Try to train our mind to listen to the mantra, and by that way we are trying to purify our hearts and trying to slowly become detached from the too much attraction to the material side of life. So this is the main theme going on here, to discipline the mind. So in verses 20 to 23, as we've read, it's all about samadhi. Krishna says, if you're just seeking a simple samadhi, trying to just become like a yogi, sitting there in a posture, and just that is not going to give you a lot of control over your mind in the long run. In the long run, what we have to do is we have to understand the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagwan, and we have to focus at what is the end goal of our life. Difficulties will be there in our life, challenges will be there from both the material side, and sometimes when you're in the devotee circle, you will also have problems, because end of the day, it is human beings who are interacting with each other, and we all have 3 challenges given to us by the Prakriti and Bhagwan. Challenges from our body platform, challenges from our mind, challenges from the nature and people around us. So one or the other is always going to challenge us. So somehow we have to navigate between the material life and the spiritual life nicely, and to go through all the challenges and the problems coming in our life, but still we have to slowly inch or advance towards the spiritual progress. And the festivals in the Vaishnav calendar, for example, now it is Damodar month. So times like this, they really help us in its own way. On top of what we are doing daily, we have bring the ghee lamp to Bhagwan morning and evening, very, very attentively, because in this month, if you're chanting just one round, that one round is equal to 1000 rounds. So I would really recommend all of you that you should at least try to chant at least one round in this month. For example, in the Ekadashi coming up, we will try to chant together as well, or perhaps someday, one of these days during this Kartik, I think we should try to endeavor to chant at least one round together, because it's a big bonus for us. Krishna is giving us big bonus. Our chanting of one round is going to be equal to 1000 rounds this month. So why not? Let's try to do that if we can. So in verse 24, Bhagwan tells us, yes, and I also wanted to tell you that try to say at least one verse of Bhagavad Gita in a day during this Damodar month. This is also very, very auspicious and very, very dear to Krishna. This is known as Radharani's month, and she's easily pleased. It's Krishna who is sometimes difficult to please. But if we can please Srimati Radharani, so what's going to happen is she's going to put our, like in Hindi we call it sifarish, or put our word in Krishna's ears, that Krishna will have to look at us and he will, when Krishna will think of us, and miracles going to happen in our lives then. In verse 24, Krishna says that one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith. As we know, determination and faith is needed in every sphere in life. Even if we are trying to do a little mundane activity, or trying to, for example, cook something for Krishna which we have never tried before, or you know, take up some activity which is completely new to us, but in the beginning we might think, oh, it looks difficult, let's leave it. But if we have the determination to carry on it, and if we have faith in our abilities provided by the Lord himself, then after few days nothing is difficult. So this is how, because we are not just talking about the yoga of the body, we are talking about the yoga of the mind with the Lord. So we have to bring about the yoga, or the connection between us and the Lord. And for doing that, it will take time, because our souls, our minds, they have got memories, they have got good and bad memories, good and bad experiences etched on them from God knows how many millions and millions of lives. So we have to try to purify our mind by chanting of the holy name. So if we chant with determination, and we serve the Lord with devotion and lot of faith, but yeah, because with the determination, the faith will come. Faith won't come by of its own accord. Faith will come with the determination. And as being human beings, when we see the results, then more and more effort will start coming from us. And as we start doing something, we see that after some time it becomes a habit. So they say sometimes it can take like a decade for you to actually become firm in your devotional practice. Because in the beginning you might say, I'm not seeing any difference in me. I'm still the same person who I was before I started serving Bhagwan. But time brings a lot of change, as we see when a child starts to learn some, for example, reading and writing. In the beginning, they can't do anything. But slowly, after a few months, and we see so much difference. The same child can write beautifully, read beautifully, and you know, this is how we are. Life after life, our soul is persevering with us. We go through the same motions again and again. We learn so much, we unlearn after we leave this world, and then we come back again. So if we are able to understand a little bit of our purpose in life, then we should be putting our effort into this direction as well, because all other activities are going to go on anyway in the life. We will have to eat, we will have to rest, we'll have to earn some money, we'll have to look after our families and everything. But this has to be given the topmost priority in your life, to get the firm connection with the Lord and to serve Him without any excuse every day. So when this will happen, slowly we will see the material side. We understand, okay, we'll have to entertain our mind, we'll have to look after our desires a little bit. We're not saying that we'll become completely hermits, because in Grihasthashram we have to do everything. So yes, desires will be there, but we will understand that these are all like seasons. They come and go. Nothing is permanent. We know that one day we are keen for one thing, and after few months that thing is not even important to us. So by controlling the senses, the mind will also get controlled slowly, because mind needs some kind of outlet where it can concentrate, and where it can spend its wanderings. So instead of letting the mind wander here and there, if we can let it wander with the Bhagwan, then we will see that Bhagwan is actually taking care of all our needs beautifully, because Bhagwan wants us to worship him, to understand him, and then Bhagwan wants us to share his name, share his fame, qualities, and everything which we have understood ourselves, because that is the only way others will also understand this. So all the devotees who are preaching, they're not just doing for any name, fame, recognition, because they have understood that they can get some kind of, you can say, commission as well from Bhagwan. Especially in this month, they say if we give the holy name to others, then Bhagwan is taking a very good note of that devotee. This is from the scriptures. Everybody says that. This is the mahima of this month. This is the greatness of this month. In verse 25, Bhagwan says that gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance. That means by the means of your intelligence and with your full conviction, with your full determination, a mind should be fixed on self, and then one should think of nothing else. So this is actually, we can interpret these things, this kind of samadhi for our chanting time in the morning. So when we're chanting in the morning, trying to chant the holy name of the Lord, or trying to do the rounds Hare Krishna of Mahamantra, we should try to think of nothing else but just of our Atma or our soul. So that way we can chant nicely, because we know that Bhagwan as Paramatma is sitting just next to the Atma in our hearts. So we are trying that Paramatma is listening to the holy name which we are repeating. The Mahamantra we are repeating is going through our mouth, into our ears, into our heart, and the super soul is keenly listening to it. So, okay, we might have some of the bad rounds where our chanting is not very clear, or it is, our mind is somewhere else. But when we will have the connection between our mind and the super soul and our self, then saying the holy name will become very easy for us. And at that time, when we're doing chanting, we should try to forget all the daily activities or all our duties. We should tell our mind that, okay, I'm going to sit down and do this, the chanting of Bhagwan's name. I'm going to repeat Bhagwan's holy name, which is Bhagwan himself. I will come back to the duties later on. So chanting, for chanting purpose, we can say that Bhagwan is giving us this verse. Verse 26, Bhagwan says that whenever the mind is wandering here or there, we should try to bring it back to the self by the means of intelligence. Mind will give us a lot of running around in a way, but we should not give up on our mind. We should know that we have got an intelligence, and the intelligence is going to be of immense help to us to bring it back to the activity we are doing. Could be chanting, could be reading of some scriptures, or could be trying to listen some lecture, or trying to understand some verses by yourself, or even trying to, put your realizations together. In verse 27, Bhagwan says that person whose mind is fixed on me, he attains the highest perfection, highest happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion, and he has realized that qualitatively his identity is same with the Bhagwan. He has got the same gunas as Bhagwan, though different in quality. The quality is not the same, the quantity is the same. In verse 28, Bhagwan says the self-control yogi is free from all material contamination and is able to serve the Lord nicely. And in verse 29, it is said that one who sees Bhagwan in all the living beings is like a self-realized person, and he can see the Supreme Lord everywhere. Which we'll read about this further on in chapter 7. It will be explained again that what is the spiritual energy and what is the material energy. Spiritual energy is the superior one and the material energy is the inferior one. So in the last few lines, Prabhupada says that while in the material energy, the living entity serves the material senses, and while in the spiritual energy, the person, he serves the Supreme Lord directly. In either case, the living entity is the servant of the God. Whether we are serving the inferior energy of the Lord, the material energy, or the superior energy of the Lord, which is Bhagwan himself, we are serving Bhagwan in both ways. We are actually the servant of the Lord in both cases. And the samdarshi, or the vision of equality, is perfect in a person in Krishna conscious. Person sees everybody same because they understand part of Bhagwan is in everyone. So we'll continue with this from verse 30 tomorrow of Dhyana Yoga. Thanks for joining. Have a nice day. Hare Krishna.